Hello, welcome to Have a Tea with me. My name is Chris. We are here for English language conversation practice. This is the Lesson Jigsaw channel, and we're here every day, Monday to Friday at 12 o'clock Universal Time. So if you're learning English, you need to practice your speaking and conversation skills. We're here for you. Now, if you want to join, all you need to do is to click on the, you'll see a link in the chat. Right, you'll see that in the chat in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you're watching us on Twitter, you need to go to one of the other three. But you'll see the link. If you click on that, you can come on through to the studio, and we can have a conversation about whatever you like to talk about. So we're here to help you gain confidence or improve your confidence with your English speaking abilities. And talk about whatever you prefer to. Maybe there's a situation you need to practice that you have coming up. You want to practice what you're saying, the way you're saying it, and the impression that you're giving. Maybe you just want to have general chit chat. Maybe there's something in the news that you like to talk about, something topical. Or maybe there's just some new words that you want to practice that you've seen or heard, and you want to get them into your useful vocabulary, let's say. Fantastic. Hope you're doing well. What's today? Today is the 3rd of May when this is going out live. Tuesday, the 3rd of May, 2022. Tea is very refreshing sometimes, isn't it? Now, as I was saying, we're here every day, Monday to Friday at 12 o'clock Universal Time. If that's not a good time for you and you're thinking, I'd like to participate, but that's not a great time for me, you can always send us an email, chat on lessonjigsaw@gmail.com. If you send us an email, let us know where you are, what part of the world, what time zone you're in, and we can see if we can arrange a live stream with you at a time that you prefer. That's what it's about. So get in contact with us and we'll see what we can do. Now, when we're thinking about, okay, what can we talk about in a conversation, or you're not sure what you can talk about, I guess the one way to think of it is to think of maybe photos, stories, newspaper articles, like those sorts of things, and think of the question words. So if we think of the general question words, like who, what, when, where, why, how, and whatever sort of question you can think of, ask questions about whatever it is you're looking at. If it's a photo, think of who's in the photo, what are they doing, why are they there, and then just explore the situation, explore the topic. Recently, we have been looking at different newspaper articles and that sort of thing as a way of gathering conversation. Hello, Javier. How are you? Good to have you here. What part of Colombia are you in, Javier? Hope you're having a good day, whatever you're doing. If it's a work day or a study day or a relaxed day, whatever it is. Good to have you with us. So let's, as an example, let's have a look at, this is it's if it's a real paper, I'm not sure, but certainly it's an online paper. This is in Korea. And it's always good to, I guess, compare different parts of the world to see what they're doing. We'll see what their thoughts are in different parts of the world. Nice to meet you too, Javier. Nice to meet you too. Good to have you with us. If you want to join in the chat, Javier, you just need to click on the link if you're interested in practicing your conversation skills, or if you're happy just to write comments, you can certainly do that as well. Whatever you're comfortable with, absolutely. Okay. Now, certainly, I think this is the first one we've seen for a while where the top stories haven't been about Ukraine. Normally the headline that we see is about Ukraine, but not this one. So they're talking about obviously news in Korea. It's of course in a local paper you would have news about Korea. Interesting. If we let's zoom in a little bit. So the in the top latest news on the right is about K-pop. I think that's quite quite humorous. But interestingly, so the top two stories are music related. So one's about the charts, but then the next one is about the symphony orchestra. So yes, curious. I guess that's the different thing. Like when you explore different countries and different cultures, they have different. Well, priorities is the right word, but they're just different things that they're interested in. Because the latest news maybe I need to click here. No, well, because the latest news doesn't really seem to be news, because then they're talking about a electronic vehicle expo, and then they're talking about an animation film. So I don't know if that's like the news, let's say, if that's the right term to use. Yes. All right, let's see if there's any stories that we might want to explore here. This is, of course, what we just do normally, isn't it? You'd scan through a newspaper, scan and skim, like that. Get that? To scan the newspaper. Oops, newspaper. So you scan the newspaper, just look for the general ideas, and then when you see a story, depending on how much time you have, so just skim a story. So when you skim a story, you just sort of like very quickly have a glance down the text and just sort of get the general idea of the story. So maybe you're only spending like a few seconds. You're not reading in depth. Just read in depth. Yeah, so you're not really reading in depth when you skim a story. But what it can do is give you an insight in terms of, okay, maybe I want to come back to this a little bit later. Okay, that's an interesting story. So people, I've got to swap that back over so you can see. So we've got people still wear masks despite end of outdoor mask mandate. So of course that's a very common word that you'll see in the COVID times, I suppose, the mandate. So it's like a specific instruction that's been given. You're mandated. It's mandatory to wear a mask. And I think in many places that's still the case. Some places the impression I would assume that it's still perhaps mandatory indoors, just because they specifically mentioned the end of the outdoor mask mandate. But yes, okay. But let's, just in terms of, I guess if we want to explore vocabulary and language and just sort of see what they talk about, let's have a look at this story if this comes up. So the headline is Toss Bank becomes first Korean digital lender to allow foreigners to open accounts. Maybe this is quite a big thing in Korea for this to happen. Maybe not, maybe other lenders do it, but this is the first digital one. So you don't actually go into a branch. They have no branches, I guess. So let's say, so you don't need to go into a branch to open an account. So the branch, because with with banks, it's a curious thing. We don't really talk about offices necessarily for a bank. And they're not shops, of course. So they have branches. Banks do have offices, but that's mainly like the head office and that sort of stuff. But the general public don't go into the office normally anyway. So but you go into the branches to do different types of transactions. So I guess the main general transactions are to deposit, is to give the money, and to withdraw. So you need to deposit and withdraw money is the most common thing. But it's if we look at this story again, there we go. So if we look at this story again, so we've got it's a lender. That's a lender, and that's I guess the other side to look at if we're talking about a common function of a bank, or when most people use a bank. So we have two things. So to lend and to borrow. So to lend is, the general idea is let's say the place or person giving the money. And normally with the idea is that the money will be returned. Say the money, okay, that is to be returned or paid back, normally with interest. But okay, and to borrow is the person, or it could be business as well, taking the money. Of course, the whole idea is so that the lender gives the money, the borrower takes the money, because normally it's a bigger purchase that the person needs to make, and and they pay interest, I guess is the other thing. So to pay interest, interest, okay, to pay interest, and then they need to, and of course, whenever you borrow money, you need to check the interest rate. The interest rate is like a percent. So for example, I don't know, could be like 15% or who knows, or 3%. You know, these days, for many banks or lending institutions, the interest rates are relatively low, I guess, compared to what they used to be. Anyway, so if we go back here, okay, so this place is a lender, is the thing. So we've got the logo here for TOS Bank. Let's explore the article a little bit, shall we? Okay, let's make that a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to see. Okay, that's good. They've actually got the caption here is TOS Bank's logo. Okay, that's good. So TOS Bank is now the first South Korean internet only. So this is what we mean by it's a digital lender. So there's no branch that you go into for this bank. So the internet only bank to allow foreign residents here. So I guess the foreign residents are living in or staying in South Korea, but perhaps not living there. They don't know, perhaps the problem was before you needed to have like a residency permit or certificate or something to open an online bank account. So there's a quote here, starting Monday, all foreigners here are able to open an account as long as they have their registration card. So I guess the assumption is that you need to go and register to say that you're staying, but you're not officially a resident, perhaps something. I'm not sure how it works in Korea, but this is some nice language to notice here. As long as. It's basically the same as if. If you have this thing, if you have the registration card, you can open an account there. Yeah, so it's like anything, I guess. You can buy anything, or you can have anything from the shop as long as you pay for it. You know, if you pay for it, you can take whatever you want from the shop. same sort of thing. And so foreigners are offered the same services as locals, according to the bank, which was set up last year, 4 years after rivals K-Bank and Kakao Bank were launched in 2017. Okay, so it seems like it's a relatively new bank, but they're trying to be ahead of the game. Let's say, to be ahead of the game. So they are trying to be ahead of the game. And you can also say in this sort of context, the competition. Ahead of the competition. So they're trying to do something before or in advance of the other banks. So it looks like these two other banks have launched their digital banks, but perhaps they don't allow foreigners to do that yet. So that's the advantage they're trying to get, is to be first with that. So for example, the deposit interest rates, transaction fees, and spending limits on debit cards are all the same for both foreigners and Koreans. Okay. Collateral-free loans, however, will not be extended to foreigners. So extended here, often talk like extend, like where you extend your arm or you extend your hand or something like that. So it means, but in this case, it means like to be given or to be offered to someone. The same as like when you offer, like if you offer someone some sugar, you start to extend, do you want some sugar? And you start to give it to them. So this is the same sort of thing that they do here. And a collateral-free loan is like you're not giving a guarantee, because quite often for some loans you need to give some sort of guarantee that if you don't pay the loan, they can take something. You know, it's like if you're, for example, you're buying a house and you have the loan or the mortgage for the house, the bank sort of owns the house, has the house until the loan is completed. And if you don't pay the loan, one word you can use is to default. To default on the loan. And if you default on the loan, the bank can take possession of the house and sell it, so they can get some of the money that wasn't paid by the person who borrowed the money. So let's say the bank could take possession of the property or whatever it is. It could be a car or whatever. So you need to guarantee the loan with something is the point, what they do. But that looks as though that is something they do for residents, let's say, of South Korea, but not for foreigners. Not yet, anyway. Who knows? Okay, and so the bank said it will use data held by the government to authenticate. That's nice, to authenticate the identity of foreigners who have to scan their registration card online to open accounts. So I guess that just means maybe like take a photo or something, I guess is the idea. And the information on the card must match the government-held information, the bank added. Okay, so that's interesting. That's interesting. And sort of when you read a story like this, I guess you can then sort of get different sorts of vocabulary, as we've seen, for different types of activities. So when we talk about deposit interest rates, transaction fees, spending limits. If we talk about the spending limit on a card, so maybe on a debit card, you can only spend a certain amount per day, for example, and that sort of thing. Or indeed to withdraw. There may also be a limit. Why there is a spending limit on a debit card, I don't know. Because a debit card is obviously you have two types of cards normally. You have a debit card and a credit card. And with a debit card, it's like a type of loan. So you can go into credit, so you don't necessarily need the money in the bank at that moment. The bank sort of has like an open or a continual loan with you. But for a debit card, normally you need the money in there. So I'm not sure why there would be a limit. If you have the money in the account, I'm not sure why there would be a limit. Or maybe that's for protection or something. But even if it's for security, there are always ways to confirm and check by using like apps on your smartphone or something, or the bank calling you and you need to give some sort of verification that you're spending, if it's like a large purchase, something like that. But anyway, but yeah, so it certainly could be a good way of looking at different sorts of language and that sort of stuff. So this bank has 2.3 million users as of March. Okay, that's quite a lot, isn't it? I guess because they're in their first year. I wonder what their target was. I wonder how many users they wanted to have. But 2.3, it seems pretty good for a year. So when they started last year, I don't know, it doesn't say. But it just says last year. So that could have been January last year, or it could have been December last year. But even if we say it's January, so a year and a half seems, I don't know, it seems okay, I guess, for 2.3 million users. But I don't know. Okay, so that's interesting. So let's change that, and let's go back a bit. See what else there is. So just a reminder, if you're just jumping in here, this is Have a Tea with me. We are here on the Lesson Jigsaw channel. We are here for English language conversation practice. So if you want to, if you're learning English, you need to practice your speaking and conversation skills. All you need to do is to click on the link that you will see in the chat. You'll see the chat there for Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can come on through and chat live about whatever you want to talk about. At the moment, we're just scanning through a newspaper, an English language newspaper in South Korea, and seeing what the stories or the main stories are there at the moment. Okay, and also now, if you're watching this on the replay, hello. You can also get in touch with us. Our email address is chatonlessonjigsaw@gmail.com. So chatonlessonjigsaw@gmail.com. Let us know where you are in the world, and if you have a preferred time, or there's another time that you'd prefer to chat, let us know, like the general times and days that might be better for you, and we'll see what we can arrange, if there's a time that we can find to do a live stream with you and chat online. But that's open to you. So you're going to send us an email, say hello, and that's all you need to do. So yes, so let's continue scanning. Okay, this is an incredible story. So half of call center workers had suicidal thoughts due to poor labor conditions. It's interesting. Just as a note, you'll see the spelling of labor here. I can't do that, but Labor. So you'll notice the difference with the British and American English there. So you can see which countries or places can have a different influence, let's say, or where they get their English from. Whereas, so you can see labor with OR, it's American English, and with OUR is British English. You can see that also with words like colour, that sort of thing, with the OU. There's a few other sort of general spelling differences, but it's just an interesting note there that you can see through something like that. Okay, and what else? This is I think this is going to be a tough story to read, even if we just look at this graphic. So we can get the general idea, I think, through this graphic. So from the responses, so 55, just over 55%, the reasons for their suicidal thoughts was economic difficulty, mental stress was over 50% as well, heavy workload was a quarter, just over 25%. Wow, no place to take a rest, 15%. I wonder how that could be. No place to take a rest. There must be unusual call centers. I wonder what sort of places they have, because I guess in most offices, just in general, they have some type of break room. Maybe the problem is there could be a large volume of people, a large amount of people working in a particular call center. And when people go on a break, there's just not enough space for everyone. So some people need to stand, they can't sit and just sort of relax and stuff. Or maybe they're not allowed to go outside, or there's no space to go outside. Maybe it's too industrial, the area, or there's no sort of really good space to take a break. Maybe the break time is too short to go outside. Maybe like people like waiting for elevators and lifts and stuff. They might not have enough space for that. But it's very distressing, very distressing. So I guess that's something you can look at to explore. I don't know. It's maybe a bit too heavy for right now, but certainly it's an important thing. It's a huge amount of people, a huge amount of people. And I wonder if with the economic difficulty, if that just means that the pay isn't particularly good in the contact centers, or it could be something where they're incentivized, to get particular results. And if they don't get the results, maybe they just have like what we might call like a basic retainer. Say a basic retainer. It's like a very small wage or salary, and they get paid that. And depending on how much they sell, they can reach the target and get a better salary. But perhaps the retainer is not very high, and that could be the problem. And people can't reach the targets for whatever different reason. And that's providing the economic difficulty for the call center workers. It could be. I don't know, but it's very, very distressing story. They do like these graphs here, don't they? This is it's obviously titled Graphic News. I wonder if that's something. I don't think I've seen a place where they've shown so many of these like infographics so much. They might have like one perhaps, but never sort of seen the three in a row. I guess it can give a quick insight to something, so you don't necessarily need a full story, but you can get some sort of general details. So here they're talking about phishing scam. So the amount of phishing scams, so this is based on one, because I think won is the currency, isn't it, in South Korea, the Korean won. So it's gone up from just over 34 billion won in 2019, 37 billion won 2020, and then almost 100 billion won in phishing scams through messenger services. Wow. And I guess, yes, that makes sense. Like I said, through the pandemic. So I guess, yes, so people are online more, have more time to use the messages and that sort of thing. Interesting. What's this other stat? So foreign residents in South Korea to rise to 4.3% of the population by 2040. So that's interesting though. Look at this. So but the total population of South Korea is due to fall. I wonder if that's going to be in many places they have that type of prediction. That's curious. So it's going to fall from now around about 51 point something million. So I guess we're in between these first two figures here. Going to fall to 50, like it's okay, but it's still like a fall of about 1 million from now to 2040. I wonder if that happens in many cases, and maybe that's Koreans aren't having babies, perhaps is the situation, or maybe they're not having as many babies as they did before. Perhaps maybe there's it could be there's more women in the workforce, and so couples, when they're having babies, perhaps they only have like 1 or 2, whereas perhaps, I don't know, they may have had 3 or 4, something like that before. Who knows? But the proportion of foreign residents is okay. It's a refresh. I think it does that automatically on this website. It does an automatic refresh, I think, like every 10 or 20 minutes or something, or maybe even less. But anyway, so yeah, it goes to 4.3% of the population 2040, foreign residents. I wonder what people think about that. Maybe they are indifferent. It's like it doesn't matter, whatever. If it's 4%, 5%, 10%, 1%, who cares? Maybe to be indifferent. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever happens it's like, it's okay. It doesn't matter if they're what percentage of residents are foreign. But it's a curious thing, isn't it? I can't think I've ever seen a country where the expected population is going to decrease. But yeah, maybe that's just the way it is. And the number of vehicles registered. Okay, so there's more registered vehicles in South Korea. So now there are around about 25 million vehicles. 25 million vehicles, and the population is just over 50 million. Okay, so you match those two up. So basically there's one registered vehicle for every person. So every person, not every 2 people. That seems a high proportion, doesn't it? Because of course, like the population is including like kids and that sort of stuff, babies. So 1 in every 2. I wonder what the adult population is of Korea. That might be even more incredible then. So let's say if you talk about how many people under 18, I don't know what a good guess would be. If you say like 15 million, 20 million, I don't know. If we say it's 15 million, so what, there's like 36 million, and then there's 25 million cars. That's obviously still a big difference when you're talking millions, but that's almost everyone has a car. See, if we break down that figure in terms of age group as well, that could be interesting as well. What could be interesting to see is how many people have more than one car. That could be. It may be that families have 2 cars. So they have like one car for like going to work and stuff, like maybe like a small car and maybe a bigger car for the family. That could be a possibility. Interesting infographics. Okay. And then they've got some YouTube linked stories, I guess. Okay. So very interesting. So then we've got a bit of K-pop, spotlight. This is very much into the cultural side, so film, culture, television, books, music. Okay. And then a variety of different stories. Then more career news, and then photos. Okay. So interesting. It's an interesting website. I think, yeah, it is interesting, isn't it, to look at different countries and how they present the news. What, like we say, what news is important for them. This is okay. This seems to be links to other news sites around the world, but this one looks. I don't think Business Insider. I don't think that's a good page because I think you need to register on that one. So it's not a good one just to click on. But this fully electric, all-in-one camper. And it's a boat, and you can camp in there as well and sleep in there. The actual where the guy is sitting doesn't look particularly comfortable, I have to say. But it's an interesting idea anyway. I guess that design is there so that the cycle part can fold up and be put inside and not get wet. I suppose is the idea. You don't want that sitting in the water if you're in a lake somewhere, I guess. Okay, so an interesting paper to look at. Okay, there's a climate clock here. So the deadline, so I guess this deadline is to 2030, 7 years, 80 days, 12 hours and 4 minutes and some seconds. Time left to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Interesting. Okay, and then then they've got like the little scrolling thing at the bottom, so the climate news, and then the world's energy from recyclables. Okay, they've got some different stats there. So there's like the Green Climate Fund. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, land protected by indigenous people. Interesting. I don't know what percentage of land that's protected by indigenous people. We're curious. There's 43.5 million square kilometers. And energy from renewables is almost 13%. Okay, so I want what's the target by 2030? I can't remember what they said. Okay, so that's like a story. So indigenous village is saving a Brazilian forest seed by seed. Interesting. Okay, very nice. That's an interesting paper to read, the Korea Herald. So yeah, interesting. Okay, so a quick reminder, this is the Lesson Jigsaw channel, and this is Have a Tea with me. We are here for English language conversation. So while I'm here by myself, I just chat to myself, basically. But if you want to participate, all you need to do is click on the link that you see in the chat. You click on that link and you can come on through and chat live about whatever topic you want. Could be like a story we've seen in the news or about any other topic that you fancy. We're going to leave it there for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following, all that sort of stuff. And we'll see you next time. So it'll be tomorrow at 12 o'clock Universal Time. And we may we're trying out some different times during the days and that sort of thing. So we may find you at some other time as well. But for now, stay happy and healthy. And we'll see you next time. Take care.